Hello and welcome to this review of my NMB RT-102. It's from 1991 and I found it last week at the recycling centre. It's a nice board that I've been exploring for the last week. Originally it was really dirty, but I've cleaned up the caps, taken the dust out and given the top case a quick once over to make it more presentable. Fortunately these clean up really well, so it looks pretty nice now. It is quite yellow and it's missing a keycap here, but because the slider is so flat and it's not a very commonly used key anyway, that doesn't matter all that much. It looks almost exactly the same as my 8255 at first glance, without the colourful keycaps of course, and with a burgundy on dark orange Taran Locklight sticker instead of the metallic Matrox logo plate. Taran, whoever they are or were, apparently had an axe for a logo, which leads me to believe they were probably a company of lumberjacks, butchers, or psychotic serial killers. Anyway, despite the superficial similarities, there's quite a few differences under the skin that I'll come to in a moment. The RT-101 is a model name in the Right Touch series, a family of keyboards NMB put out spanning many years, ranging from purebred mechanicals to cheap rubber domes. This one is actually the RT-102 though, which, as you would expect, is the ISO model, but the vast majority of Space Invader boards, including my other NMB, have a big-ass enter and a small backspace key, and it's actually pretty rare to see a board without this setup and with a normal ISO layout instead. It uses two-eyed black clicky Space Invaders, but for some reason it uses both small-eyed and large-eyed specimens randomly throughout the board. Looking into it, it appears that the small-eyed switch model may have been the older one, as newer boards tend to be all large eyes and older ones tend to be all smaller eyes, so maybe this was made in a crossover period. NMB Hi-Tek switches are absolutely baffling at the best of times though, so I wouldn't know for sure. Check out my 8255 review in the link below for a detailed review and explanation on how these switches work and how they compare to other switch types, but for this review it'll suffice to say that the switches are really nice to type on and have a delightful soft click. Their main weaknesses are that the keys are a tad heavy and they don't really like off-center key presses. Space Invaders spacebar especially are ludicrously heavy at 140 grams, so generally I swap out the spring in these for one from any other switch, because otherwise half of the spaces I type go missing. Although you have to hit normal keys in the center, all the stabilized keys work fine except this right shift where the stabilizers don't reach all the way, so if you press it here it doesn't work, but if you press it here where the stabilizer reaches, it's fine. Of course, one of the main virtues of these old NMBs is the keycaps. They're gorgeous. They're thick, very thick in fact, and sharp angled PBT that's remained virgin white throughout the years. Just look at that. Very nice. And with bold, chunky, high-quality dye-sublimed lettering, two-tone even on the numpad, IBM couldn't have done it any better. Beautiful. And they really contribute to the sound of the switches too. It gives them their characteristic deep thok sound when they bottom out. You know how Alp switches sound best with thin ABS caps on them? Well, with these it's the thick PBT that makes these really come alive. Just listen to this. Lovely. Even the spacebar is a giant chunk of PBT, something very few manufacturers dare to do. Even my Hi-Tek from 1985 doesn't have that. The build quality is outstanding. It's not that huge or even that thick. Here, see? But it feels very dense and well built. Quite elegant for a board that weighs a whopping 1.6 kilograms, or about 3.5 lbs if you're from the States, or about 250 millistone if you're from the UK. Which is more than an Alps Bigfoot, by the way, including the model that comes with the added steel weight in the case. Here, listen to this. Quite impressive. It's got simple, springy flip-out feet at the bottom, as well as these rubber non-slip pads here. Now, these pads aren't the usual cheap stick-it-on ones, by the way. They're clipped into the chassis from the inside, so they don't shift around, come off, or leak and smear that sticky stuff that normally sits behind them everywhere. It's got a massive coiled cable on it, which is definitely nicer than the one on my other NMB. And it has a 5-pin DIN connector with an 80XT switch at the rear here. It's even got N-key rollover.
See? Which I didn't really expect because, as I recall, neither my Hi-Tek nor my 8255 have that. But it's very welcome.
Overall, I've really taken a liking to this keyboard. Great little switches, quiet enough to be used in the office but with a delightful sound, outstanding build quality, a modern layout, beautiful keycaps and even N-key rollover. What's not to like? That's it for this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and here is a typing demonstration of me typing on this keyboard.